Hello, everyone, and welcome to this weekly Facebook Live event. Hope you're doing great. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and thank you once again for being part of this group. The more you get involved in the group by posting, by sharing, by commenting, by answering questions, and by following some of my leads, well, the more you will get out of this group and basically have more success in your life and your business. So today I want, and every week, of course, it is a Q&A kind of live. So you're more than welcome to ask me anything in regards to your business, even in regards to your life, if that if something is happening and you need help. As you may know already, I am a serial entrepreneur, self-made millionaire. I have helped thousands of people worldwide, just like you, with their business, with their life, giving advice and coaching a lot of people all around the world. I currently have 42 books published. The 42nd is actually coming out in September. And I have been recognized as I guess, a thought leader or leader, an expert in scaling business growth and also the law of attraction. I have spent quite a long time studying the laws of the universe and also combining that with very practical day-to-day things that you can do to make your life more successful in every aspect of it, not just in a money sense, but in everything that you desire to achieve. In my own life, I have achieved some real outrageous goals, if you want to call them that, and I've been able to surpass what most people have come to call impossible goals. And so I teach that to others, how to not only create goals that seem impossible, but accessing higher levels of success, maybe levels that you've never imagined before today. So I wanted to speak about visualization because in my experience and also in my accumulated knowledge over the last 15 years, of course, visualization is one of the most powerful tools that we have to create what we want in this life. You have to be careful also because you need to utilize visualization in a proper way if you don't want to I just realized that today's live is not about visualization. So there's a blooper right there live. So today's live is actually about the imposter syndrome. I just had this flash because I've been thinking about visualization now for quite a bit and wanted so much to share with you guys the power of visualization. But today, because I've encountered a lot of people who have the imposter syndrome, I wanted to talk to you about the imposter syndrome. So scratch what happened before. Let's start this again. Hi. We will be talking about the imposter syndrome. So what is the imposter syndrome? Basically, what it is that voice in your head that keeps on telling you that you will at some point be found guilty of lying about who you are really, and that you are not worth what you say you are worth, and that eventually it'll get out there, it'll get known, and you will be caught as the imposter that you are. So that is what that voice in your head says. Potentially, hopefully, silently, hopefully not too loud, but for some people it is so loud that it paralyzes them from moving forward, from doing what they want, especially from increasing your prices. And increasing prices or selling something at a higher price for some people might seem like the most terrifying things that they can do or they have to do. So I wanted to really dig more deep into this and see if we can resolve some of that angst so that you can move forward, increasing your prices and be, I'd say, more aware of that the voice that is in your head is actually false. So first of all, why do we have the imposter syndrome? Where at some point in our lives, we were taught or we were told or we thought we understood that we were not good enough. So there's something that broke, usually from age 3 to age 8, that made us believe that we are not good enough. And I can give you an example of how those beliefs entered our mind. For example, it could have been that your mom or your dad asked you to make your room, go make your bed. And you went into your room, and because you're a kid, you're 4 or 5 or 6, well, you forgot. And what you did instead is play with some toys. And then your mom or your dad were tired that day, not in a good mood. They came in, they see that you didn't do your room, and they yelled at you. They might have told you, you never listen to what we tell you. Look at what you've done. You're so messy. You never finish what you start. I'm really upset at you. Or more threatening or even violent actions that some abusive parents directly diverse to. So in any case, the child doesn't understand that the parent is upset because they had a rough day, because probably they've been yelled at work, or they maybe lost their job that day. We don't know what happened, but the kid does not understand the reason why that tone was utilized for them as they played or as they enjoyed themselves. And suddenly a sense of worthlessness started to be generated inside. It might have been, for example, also parents who tell their kids, you better be polite, or you better do this, or you better do that. Or, I won't love you, or if you do it, then you're loved. So the conditioning of love also creates that sense of worthlessness, of being loved only if we're polite, only if we're a nice little girl or a nice little boy, only if we behave. Later on in life, depending on how traumatic that was, can lead people to be very highly people pleasers, trying to please everybody to the extreme, because at a very young age they kind of thought that if I please everybody, then only then I will be loved. It can bring people to levels of depression or big major self-esteem issues, thinking that they'll never be loved, they'll never be good enough, they never have done enough to receive the love or the accolades of people who are very close to them. So all those sentences, and if you have kids, well, pay attention to what you tell them, because children are really sponges. So they have a tendency to really take all of that in and really incorporate that into their belief system. And what happens is, when you develop a certain belief, you will spend the rest of your life trying to prove that that belief is true. So you're going to spend a tremendous amount of time looking around you and utilizing your brain as a radar to look around you and find the reasons why that premise is true. You'll not try to dismiss the premise until somebody actually makes you have that aha moment and realize, oh my goodness, that's where it came from. It makes no sense. It has no foundation. And then it's a whole process to transform your belief system and basically reconnect the neurological paths in your brain differently, so that you don't associate certain things with others that are negative to you, and you change completely your behavior, and of course you start changing also your reality. But let's go back to childhood. So another example that I usually use to explain why some children might have that disconnect is, for example, you're a child, you're 3 years old, and you're running after a little cat or a squirrel or whatever, and in your mind, in your world, it's happiness, it's joy, it's plenty, it's abundance, it's laughter, it's hope, it's everything that's the most beautiful, and you're running after the squirrel, not noticing that you're actually going to cross a street where there might be a car running into you. Your mom behind you is probably running after you, trying to save your life. And as soon as she catches you, most parents, in most cases, will yell at the kid, not because they hate the kid, but because the stress, accumulated stress and worry of seeing something dramatic happen to the child made them burst into anger. And a lot of people, unfortunately, do not develop a lot of emotional control or emotional intelligence, which therefore afterwards, of course, has a direct impact on the children. So the child who now is received this very aggressive and violent reaction when only doing something that's joyful and playful and not risky in his mind, suddenly starts having doubts of what is fun, what is not fun, when is something dangerous or not, and starts having more and more self-doubt of danger, of the notion that danger is out there and everywhere, even when we're playing. And that also creates this illusion that we always need to be fearful of the worst that can happen out there. So there's a lot, and the more that the child has lived those kinds of circumstances, well, the more there's kind of a hole that's created within the inner heart or the inner self, where we feel this hole of unworthiness, this hole of unhappiness. Sometimes it leads to depression. We try to fill this hole or this void with alcohol, drugs, pills, work, sex. Try to fill this void with a lot of addiction, because of course every time the void is filled, or food even for the people who eat their emotion, well, every time that void is filled, we have a false sense of comfort, a false sense of numbness, of that fear, of that ugliness that we are afraid to face. And we think that the ugliness is within us. The more this lasts, the more the void is created, the more it gets bigger. And eventually, of course, everything we do, we have a sense that we are not worthy enough to receive what we ask for. And so the imposter syndrome really starts at a very young age, when that disconnect happens, and then that disconnect grows between our true self, our inner self, who is abundant, plentiful, joyful, full of limitless, full of possibilities, and the false self, our self that thinks that we are not good enough for anything. And so every time we try to achieve something, every time we do something, well, we get the feeling that something's going to happen that's going to ruin all of that. Some people will then react in the sense that they will automatically auto-sabotage to generate failure before failure happens, just to make sure that they are in control of that failure, that it doesn't happen out of the blue, a little bit like the kid being caught and yelled at when they were joyful, where the same thing can happen where we auto-sabotage, so at least we never get that trauma of getting a bad scenario happen when we're least expecting it. And also generates that fear that one day somebody is going to catch us and tell us that actually we're not good enough. We didn't make that bet. We didn't finish what we started. We are that lousy little child that feels lousy, probably was loved beyond measure by the parents, but the child remembers everything. And as a sponge, they accumulate all that data as certainties, as truths. And within those truths, well, they believe everything they hear, and therefore they will, because parents or whoever has the role of parents are seen as gods by kids. So of course we will believe everything those gods tell us. So eventually all those beliefs will be incorporated in your subconscious mind, and they'll become part of who you think you are. And therefore, when you start wanting something or going after a goal, all those beliefs that you've built throughout the years since childhood will have a direct impact on that voice in your head that either pushes you forward or scares you away, tells you to stop, or tells you that you're not good enough, or just automatically repeats certain sentences to you until you abandon your quest, you give up, or you sabotage your result to make sure that you're right, that you actually have some common ground with what you think about yourself, that you're not in disconnect with your belief system, that you are actually adjusted with your belief system, and that you follow through with whatever the belief system tells you. In order to change that, you actually need to change completely your belief system to the core in order to not anymore have that kind of disconnect and have that kind of, I'd say, build up fear of being an imposter. So the imposter syndrome is basically kind of a false protection that you've built in order for not to be disappointed maybe by the environment, and not to have your hopes too high, but most certainly a thought process that you are not at that level that you seek, that you are not the person you think you are. Another thing that happens that is very important is, as we grow an expert in a certain field, as we become better and better in something that we do, it becomes easier and easier to do those things. If it becomes easier and easier to do those things, we have the impression that it's easy for everybody. Because it's easy for us, we think everybody gets it as easily, as quickly as we get it. And therefore we feel that charging higher prices, it doesn't make sense because it is so easy and I can do it fast. And that's another relation that is flawed, is we have a direct association between time, the time it takes to do something, and its value. The more time it takes, the more expensive it is, when actually it has nothing to do. The value is in the result. Someone gets a result fast, they should pay more, and not because it took a long time. Also, we think that the easier it is for us, the cheaper it should be because it's so easy. And that also is false, because actually, because it's easy for you, it just means that you became a greater expert in the field, and therefore you should charge more. The imposter syndrome basically controls your pricing, controls also your ability to thrive, to go out there and seek more, just because you always have the impression that you are not as worthy as you'd like to be. And the worst part of that is because you don't fix the root, you don't fix the belief system, you don't fix the imposter syndrome, well, you continue endlessly always believing that no matter what you want, you'll never be good enough for it. And because of that and the law of attraction, well, you end up attracting circumstances that prove to you that you're not good enough. So one, you'll auto-sabotage. Two, you attract circumstances that make you feel or understand, or I'd say, or generate even more reasons that you're not good enough. And you auto-sabotage to make sure you're right and to make sure that you won't be disappointed, that you won't have that circumstance that comes out of the blue that sabotages your result. So basically, all of this basically damages and limits your ability to have more success. So again, if you want to really thrive, you need to really handle the imposter syndrome and really come face to face with those fears so that you can increase your prices. And I'll do a separate live or videos at some point about the pricing and how to deal with that and how to deal with selling at different prices. But just for now, the imposter syndrome, in order to change that, you really have to go to the root of the problem, change your belief systems to the core. So I hope this helps you. If you watch this on YouTube, please comment, share the video, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, because I post a lot of videos on YouTube that I don't necessarily post in Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, welcome to my Facebook group, Six Figures, and I'll post the link below, so that you can see more of these helpful conversations and content to help you really grow your business and thrive. So I hope this has been helpful. And next week, I will speak about the power of visualization. Thank you and have a great day.